John Gates Ramsay, my father, retired from the United Steelworkers of America soon after the merger of the AFL-CIO in 1955. He continued his concern about how technology was relieving working men of long hours of toil, but also contributing to significant unemployment. His Labor Day article for the September 1964 Faith at Work was adapted from a sermon that he preached September 2nd, 1962 in the National Presbyterian Church in Washington, D.C., and again in Cincinnati the next year. Here is his article, Dilemma in Eden. God has brought us back into the Garden of Eden, but we don't know what to do with it. Through automation and new technology, we have become the most productive society in history, but some have suffered for this advance. Between 5 and 6 million Americans are denied a just share of the abundance in our affluent society because there are no jobs for them. I'm not speaking about the unemployable. They are the poor that we have always had with us, of which Jesus spoke, those who are sick and unable to live effectively. We approach their problems with realism, try to help them become employable and productive in our economy, or care for them if this is necessary. I'm speaking of the men and women and young people who are able and willing and seeking jobs but do not find them. They are the ones in Jesus' parable of the vineyard, who were asked in Matthew 26:7, "Why stand ye here all the day idle?" And who replied, "Because no one hath hired us." These fellow Americans are being replaced by automation in an age of rapid social change and forced into involuntary privation, loss of personal dignity, and eventual poverty. Some young people just out of school find that they are not needed. The fear and insecurity in their hearts give rise to prejudice against those of certain races, religions, and national origin and sex. American Negroes are traditionally the last to be hired and the first to be laid off. But they will no longer accept this position. They are on the march for freedom and jobs, and I am happy to march with them. However, they are not the only ones who suffer in our economy. In 10 years, 667,000 coal miners have been displaced by machines. On the railroads, 32,000 firemen are fighting to keep from becoming a part of the growing army of unemployed. I recently learned of one meat company that cut back its workforce from 81,000 to 30,000, but which with automation can process 1 billion more pounds of meat in 1 year. Then there are the underemployed migrants, the Jodes of Tobacco Road, the Okies of the Grapes of Wrath, the wetbacks from Mexico, who are unwanted as people and yet who are important to our welfare at harvest time. And I have just come from the mountains of North Carolina, a beautiful, healthy area of our nation where there are no jobs for our youth. Contrast these with young people who do find jobs that pay union wage, though they often fail to realize the struggle their fellow workers went through to build the good working conditions and wages they enjoy. Automation, nuclear energy, and new technology are not evils. They are a gift from God that hold the potential of feeding, clothing, and sheltering all the world's people. But they make it imperative that with honesty and unselfishness, we devise a new system of distribution so that all able men and women may become employed and share in the affluence of our society. And we must, above all, see that human needs are met. As the National Council of Churches declared last year in its Labor Sunday message, man was not made for economic systems, but economic systems were made for man. If, therefore, our economic systems are not serving human needs adequately, they must be overhauled, adjusted, or remade, not to serve some set of statistical averages, but to meet the needs of human beings. I believe this is the spirit of the labor movement in our world today. Let me cite one example of its thinking and action. 1 year ago, the United Steelworkers of America and the steel industry agreed on a provision for periodic 3-month vacations for senior employees in order to expand opportunities for employment. This is a totally new concept for industrial workers in our society. It's estimated that it will put 24,000 unemployed steelworkers back on a job, while those who have worked steadily over a long period of time will enjoy periods of earned leisure. I'm often asked, how will these men use their leisure? I always respond by asking, what would you do with such an opportunity? Are you any different from them? I suspect that many of them will travel. Nothing could better advertise America abroad than the visits of individual workers who have earned the capacity to travel as a fruit of our economy. Or they might even use their new freedom to go into all the world and preach the gospel. I, his eldest son, subsequently developed the idea of earned leisure while in Denmark the spring of 1982, and have since sent it to all the United States presidents. My sabbatical plan can be found at http://shareliterature.com. Replace unemployment. Dad did more than write and talk. He set about to demonstrate that his 3-month earned leisure plan was feasible. He organized a trip to Puebla and Oaxaca in Mexico to study the situation of working people in Mexico. This footage is from movies he and Mom took during that tour. you.